Dejamos en el párrafo que empieza, Fuseli was looking.
Claro. Fuseli was looking towards the other side of the room. And Fuseli was thinking that it wasn't good to be seen round too much with a fellow like Cohen. This is what I was saying. He might get him in wrong. Fuseli knows that Cohen could be bad company because he can be, he is going to be court-martialed very soon. And so, well, he knows this is a dangerous situation. He left the bar and he went to the main square again, casting an envious glance in the window of the Cheval Blanc. This is, you remember, the bar where the officers were.
Yes.
The Cheval Blanc. And he remembered the MP and automatically hastened his steps. In a narrow street, the other side of the square, he stopped before the window of a small grocery shop and peered inside, keeping carefully out of the oblong of light that showed faintly the grass-grown cobbles and the green and gray walls opposite. A girl sat knitting beside the small counter, with her two little black feet placed demurely side by side on the edge of a box full of red beads. She was very small and slender. The lamplight gleamed on her black hair, down close to her head. Her face was in the shadow. Several soldiers lounged awkwardly against the counter and the jambs of the door, following her movements with their eyes as dogs watch a plate of meat being moved about in a kitchen. So again, the poor girl, no? The image of the young girls and soldiers looking at them, yes, and well, this is another situation that the war produces, no? The lack of their girlfriends and wives. After a little, the girl rolled up her knitting and jumped to her feet, showing her face, an oval white face with large dark lashes and an impertinent mouth. So Fuseli is looking at this girl, no? He continues walking and he thinks, oh, this is a hell of a life. Again, no? He shivered in the cold wind, but remained leaning over the water. In the distance, trains rumbled interminably, giving him a sense of vast, desolate distances. The village clock struck 8. The bell had a soft note like the bass string of a guitar. In the darkness, Fuseli could almost see the girl's face, grimacing with its broad, impertinent lips. He thought of the somber barracks and men sitting about on end of their cots. Hell, he couldn't go back yet. His whole body was taut with desire for warmth and softness and quiet. He slouched back along the narrow street, cursing in a dismal monotone. Before the grocery store, he stopped. The men had gone. He went in jauntily, pushing his cap a little to one side so that some of his thick curly hair came out over his forehead. The little bell in the door clanged. The girl came out of the inner room. She gave him her hand indifferently. Comment ça va, Yvonne? Bon? His pidgin French made her show her little pearly teeth in a smile. Good, she said in English. She laughed childishly. Say, will you be my girl, Yvonne? She looked in his eyes and laughed. Non comprise, she said. Well, oui, voulez-vous ma fille? She shrieked with laughter and slapped him hard on the cheek. So she starts flirting with this girl. There will be also a situation here. And who is there? At the end, Eisenstein and a French soldier were talking. Now, Eisenstein, our clever soldier, is not talking about women, no? He's talking
about revolution.
Exactly. Eisenstein is talking about revolution. Eisenstein is a communist, yes? So Fuseli was angry and sat down silently at the end of the table, keeping his eyes on Yvonne. She drew the knitting out of the pocket of her apron and holding it up comically between two fingers, glanced towards the dark corner of the room where an old woman with a lace cap on her head sat asleep, and then let herself fall into a chair. Boom, she said. Fuseli laughed until the tears filled his eyes. She laughed too. They sat a long while looking at each other and giggling, while Eisenstein and the Frenchman talked. Suddenly, Fuseli caught a phrase that startled him. What would Americans do if revolution broke out in France? We do what we were ordered to, said Eisenstein bitterly. We are a bunch of slaves. So as Alice said, Eisenstein is talking of revolution in France, no, the home of revolutions. But he feels that Americans are not revolutionary, no? How do you mean revolution? Asked Fuseli in a puzzled voice. The Frenchman turned black eyes searchingly upon him. I mean, stop the butchery, overthrow the capitalist government, the social revolution. But you are a republic already, aren't you? As much as you are. You talk like a socialist, said Fuseli. They tell me they shoot guys in America for talking like that. You see, said Eisenstein to the Frenchman, are they all like that? Except a very few. It's hopeless. So this conversation between Eisenstein and the Frenchman and Fuseli is it makes us think of Sacco and Vanzetti, yes, and John Dos Passos' position, yes, about them. Where do you fellows get that stuff anyway? In his mind, he was saying, a kike and a frog, that's a good combination. His eyes caught Yvonne's and they both laughed. So we get two parallel situations here. Fuseli and Yvonne flirting, yes, kind of falling in love, and Eisenstein and the Frenchman talking about revolution and the incapacity of the Americans to defend a revolution, let's say. So when I was in Verdun, there will be a revolution. France is the country of revolutions. We'll always be here to shoot you down, said Eisenstein. Wait till you've been in the war a little while. A winter in the trenches will make any army ready for revolution. You see, Dos Passos is here talking about this all the time. But we have no way of learning the truth. And in the tyranny of the army, a man becomes a brute, a piece of machinery. Remember, you are freer than we are. We are worse than the Russians. You see this talk, no? This question of revolution and communists. It is curious. Oh, but you must have some feeling of civilization. I have always heard that Americans were free and independent. Will they let themselves be driven to the slaughter always? Now, if you think of this question, this could be a question today, because Americans are always taken to different wars in different places of the world.
Yes.
Will they let themselves be driven to the slaughter always? I don't know, Eisenstein got to his feet. We'd better be getting to barracks. Coming, Fuseli? Guess so. So they left the shop with the Frenchman there. Bonsoir. He threw himself on his belly on the white table and put his arms round her neck and kissed her, feeling everything go blank in a flame of desire. So you see how striking is, no? The two situations, Fuseli falling in love, full of desire for Yvonne, and Eisenstein and the Frenchman talking about the butchery of the war, the revolution, the communists, no? Two different worlds. So she pushed him away calmly with strong little arms. Stop, she said, and jerked her head in the direction of the old woman in the chair in the dark corner of the room. They stood side by side, listening to her faint, wheezy snoring. He put his arms round her and kissed her long on the mouth. Dimanche, he said. She nodded her head. Fuseli walked fast up the dark street towards the camp. The blood pounded happily through his veins. Say, Eisenstein, I don't think you ought to go talking round like that. You'll get yourself in too deep one of these days. I don't care. But hell, man, you don't want to get in the wrong that bad. They shoot fellers for less than you said. Let them. Christ, man, you don't want to be a damn fool, expostulated Fuseli. No, Fuseli wants to. How old are you, Fuseli? I'm 20 now. I'm 30. I've lived more, kid. I know what's good and what's bad. This butchery makes me unhappy. So you see, Eisenstein's position is very clear about the war, no?
Yeah.
God, I know, it's a hell of a note, but who brought it on?
But maybe Fuseli changed, no? There, because he's very young and he's worried about his future. But
yes, and we will see how Fuseli starts.
he's intelligent.
Yes, and Eisenstein age is obviously much more, let's say, he knows much more because he's 30 and he knows this is a butchery.
Yes.
And he says, well, who brought it on? If somebody had shot the Kaiser. So Fuseli thinks that the solution would have been to shoot the Kaiser to stop the war. He's very innocent. We have already said that, no? He's very.
And maybe I think that maybe Eisenstein has any experience as a communist in the US.
Yes, of course. He knows.
Maybe in
that's why
the Russian Revolution, no?
The Russian Revolution, and also remember Sacco and Vanzetti, no? He was one of the people who wanted them to be absolved, and well,
yes, but this is something that maybe it is not so well known, but in the US at the beginning of the 20th century, Communist Party, Socialist Party, and Unionists were very, very strong, very leftist.
Yes, that's right.
Well, we can see John Dos Passos and Steinbeck,
Right.
all
Yes.
of them, no?
Yes,
But
London, yes.
Well, so now we'll see that. Sorry, I cannot hear, Alice.
that's the reason because of McCarthy.
Yes.
No, that's the reason because of McCarthy's later.
Yes, they were
Yes.
persecuted. Yes. Well, now we'll see that Eisenstein goes to the barracks, but Fuseli will not.
It is almost ending the call. It is
Yes,
almost
it is.
ending the call.
This is the end. Yes. That's why I say, well, now we will see that Fuseli will not go back to the barracks because he will have a meeting with Yvonne. Yes, a private meeting, let's say. And claro. So he meets Bill Gray, and Bill says, well, I'm going to leave you when damn soon. I can't go this life. I don't see how you can. So before they say goodbye that night, Bill will tell him, yes, that he's going to desert. And that is another problem.